This is episode 1 of Upcancel Ledgebounce, presented by Downbeat Collaborations. This is Jaaahsh.
And this is Wisely.
And we're here with you today to... I don't know what I was going to say next. So
we're here with you today to tell you what the heck any of this is.
Yeah, that's true. I just said a whole lot of things that don't sound familiar.
You don't know what Upcancel Ledgebounce is. You don't know what Downbeat Collaborations is. Did you say anything else?
And you don't know who we are, so that's exciting. Well, maybe you do. And if you do, hey girl, hey.
And if you don't, we're about to tell you.
That's true. So I'm Jaaahsh. I am a Minnesota TO, principally for Smash for Wii U, having been part of the scene since the game's dropped about a year ago, November 2014.
And I'm Wisely. I've been part of the scene for a little over a year now. Not last August, but the one before that was the first tournament I went to. I run tournaments primarily for Melee and for Project M.
So one of the things you may have noticed that has some sort of similarity between us is that we're both tournament organizers, both based out of Minnesota. We've done a lot of work together in the past few months, running 2 tournament series, Smash LL and Pummel, for Smash 4, and then PM and Melee, respectively.
Those tournaments have worked hand in hand, and then we've also TO'd together at Arcadians, seasonal monthlies, a few others, I believe. In
some sort of way at Big House. There's sort of tangential ways of talking about that. So the reasoning behind why we wanted to start this podcast is that we have a lot of conversations amongst ourselves about all sorts of things that are happening, not only in Minnesota, but also in the larger Smash community. Things like, PR rankings, things about rule set changes, things about big news events like the PM development team ending. And this seemed like a really great way to get our perspectives out to you all, and also to sort of make it very clear where we stand on some of the bigger issues, especially with relating to things I just mentioned.
Definitely. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about is unique to a TOing perspective, and that's something that a lot of people don't get to hear, and something that we believe a lot of people not only would find interesting, but also be able to get a lot of insight from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot to be said for seeing something from a different perspective. And of course, we're both players. We both play in the games that we TO for, but we also spend a lot of time talking to event organizers and talking to people who own and work venues. So there's a lot, I think, for us to offer you guys in terms of seeing on the other side of the fence, seeing what it looks like to be someone running an event as opposed to someone who just goes and takes the money.
Definitely. And seeing, depends on how many people are actually taking the money.
That's fair.
But maybe a couple of people listening have won the stuff.
That's true.
But yeah, there's hearing what it's like to maybe talk to a venue host or talk to other tournament organizers from across the nation.
And so, as I said at the beginning, this podcast, Upcancel Ledgebounce, is that means for us to talk to you guys, and it's presented by Downbeat Collaborations. One of our first announcements, actually, for this podcast is going to be what Downbeat Collaborations is.
Because you guys have no idea.
No, and
we're announcing a lot of stuff with this one podcast, and then we'll have a joint post on the Minnesota Smash Facebook page. But with this one announcement, we have a lot of different stuff that's coming up, and we've been really excited to let you guys know.
Yeah, absolutely. So about a few months ago, Sam and I sat down and really started realizing that there's a lot of gain to be gotten from organizations that occur across the country that really unify Smash communities in their areas. We're talking about things like Event Horizon Gaming over in Wisconsin,
Team Oxy in NorCal,
Events to Compete in Chicago, Tourney Locator down in Texas, these sorts of organizations.
Big Blue eSports in, I believe, New England.
Yeah.
Yep.
All these groups that, by having some sort of business or company grounding, they allow their Smash communities to grow and prosper and become nationally visible. One of the biggest things that I've seen as a new TO in Smash for Wii U is how invisible we are outside of the boundaries of our own state. Our PR is unknown. Our top players are unknown. Our tournaments are outside of people from maybe southern central Canada or Wisconsin or the Dakotas, not really well known and not really well attended.
Yep. We have people go across the border to neighboring states, take top 8, and people are like, we have no idea who they were.
Yeah. So in light of the organizations that we just listed, to give you guys an idea of what Downbeat is shaping up to be, and of course it's one of those things that will change over time, but where we're sitting right now, Downbeat is sort of our way of tying together a lot of the efforts being made around Minnesota to put together phenomenal events for the Smash community here and for the Smash community in the wider United States and North America with a strong sort of business backing, but also a strong TOing backing. And it allows us to create a team of individuals to come together to really produce great stuff for the Smash community, which I think is important as we, whether we like to say it out or not, as we eSports more and more.
Yeah, and that in itself is something that we're going to be talking about a lot, what eSports means for the scene. Like Josh said, we're coming at this from a strong TO perspective. A lot of the groups we named earlier focus on streaming, focus on content, and that is certainly something we're going to do. If you guys have seen Josh's video with Triple R, explaining what goes through a Premier Kirby's head as he's playing the game, some of the PR announcements, things like that, we're going to be ramping those up. We're going to be trying to get a lot more content out to everybody. But it also is coming from a strong perspective of what is the best tournament that we can run for the players. And whether that's a huge event or maybe that's your regular weekly tournament series, but making those the best that we can for you guys. Teaming up as TOs as an organization, there's things that an organization is able to do, whether that's getting sponsorships, working with venues, working with a lot of the local communities outside of Smash, that one single person isn't able to. But as a collaboration, that's something that we can then access.
And so there's pieces of the whole that benefit everybody, but to give you guys a sort of concrete idea of the sort of pillars of what we're looking at, Down B Collaborations, which is the full name, we're going to refer to it as Down B because who wants to say a 5-syllable word every time?
Down B Collaborations is a little obnoxious. It describes exactly what we're looking to do, but Down B or DB.
I was counting to make sure it was actually 5 syllables. I knew if I said 5 syllables and someone was like, it's 6 syllables, I'd feel like a jackass.
So actually, what was it?
It's 5.
No, it's 5?
It's actually 5. I was absolutely correct.
We're so smart.
But no, so beyond the content creation, which Sam just talked about, the ramped up stream schedule, the video schedules, talking and making more content with top players, not only from this area, but from areas around the country. We're also looking at event creation. I mean, Sam and I both have backgrounds, I said at the beginning, with Smash LL and Pummel. These sorts of things will continue in the new year. We intend to create these and more sort of new events as the year goes on and as time goes on. And then beyond that, there's also the sort of event management side of it. Up until now, if someone has an event and they say, hey, I want to run an event, but they don't really have the wherewithal to run an event, there's not a centralizing body in Minnesota that helps them get that. I get messages all the time from people who say, hey, what does this look like? But with Down B, it makes it much easier for us to say, here's what we can offer you. Here's our sort of services. And we're now a hireable body. That makes it much easier to do that kind of thing.
And not only in-state, but Josh and I have both gotten requests and messages from people outside of state. For example, Josh was one of the big TOs at Big House. It was a terrible way to word that. He was one of the...
No, yeah.
I didn't realize what tournament series I was about to name. You were one of the main TOs for Smash 4 at Big House.
Sure.
I ran one of the side events. I ran the Project M side event for Big House. At that, you were asked if you would be able to come back to Michigan to run some other events. I was asked, oddly enough, if I was going to be running the side event for Project M at Genesis, which I do not have the ability to do right now, but it's those kind of things. And so whether that means running events outside of state, or being able to say, hey, someone really wants to have an event in Mankato, or Cloud, or wherever they want to be, and they can ask us, like, hey, we have this venue that we're looking at, or we're looking for help to find a venue. Whatever involvement they want. But also being a resource for other tournament organizers to come to. Because we don't want to be the only ones running things here.
Absolutely not.
No, there's no way. But being able to field messages a lot easier and say, this is our perspectives. And these are some things, like if you're wondering, how much time does it take to run X type of bracket in this amount of time constraints? We'll be able to give a lot more information towards that.
This creates a really solid resource for folks to look to and to contact for these sorts of doubts or these sorts of concerns.
We would love to be able to use this to train up other tournament organizers in the state.
Absolutely. As an easy example of the sort of thing Sam was just talking about, we have our second sort of big announcement for this podcast, ending the sort of long extended advertisement that was just then Down B Collaborations. We are now a thing. Yes, it's great, but there is now something concrete we can point to as well that will directly benefit all of you in Minnesota and in the surrounding areas coming this summer. It hasn't quite been announced yet, but by the time this is up, it'll likely have been announced. Oh God, I won't post this until it is announced, so it'll absolutely be announced.
By the time you are listening to this podcast, you will already have seen this and gone, huh, why didn't we know?
Yep.
And here we are. Here we are letting you know.
So, Events to Compete, a large gaming organization in Chicago who manages and runs a lot of their tournaments there, has established and created what they're calling the Midwest Circuit, a series of tournaments that are going to happen all throughout this coming year, all the way through until July, all throughout the Midwest. And Minneapolis gets one of those dates. We get June 25th for our own very leg of the Midwest Circuit, and it is run by Down B. And so what we get is Sam and I will be putting together, as part of the larger E2C event, a major Midwest series or a tournament.
Midwest tournament.
Yeah, within this series. We're excited because it means we'll probably get players from all across the region. Basically, the way these sort of things work is each event functions as a sort of qualifier for the finale in Chicago, usually with an enormous prize pool. This one indeed has already promised to have quite a bit of money behind it in its finale. And each event can serve as a way for you to get into that finale. And so Minneapolis happens to be the second to last one before Madison a few weeks later. And what it means is that we're going to get folks from all around who have not yet qualified or who want to go to more tournaments in this regard. And it's going to be quite the interesting thing to see how many people we get, where they come from, but also to show them the sort of quality of tournaments that Minnesota boasts that aren't especially well known outside of our state borders. One of the appeals to me as a TO is that we put on events that are really well reputed. People really enjoy them. And folks don't know about that until they come out to Minnesota and experience them. And so we're also excited to announce the name for this tournament series, which I'm excited about. Similar to the name of the podcast, Upcancel, Ledgebounce, these sort of names came about because of jokes I made. When we were talking about organization names, I said, oh, let's just name us Down B Spam, since both characters that Sam and I play in our main games do just that. And so Down B became the name of our organization because of that. And then Upcancel, Ledgebounce is something about your friend.
When I started getting into Smash, one of my roommates who doesn't play Smash, every time I started was like, I'm going to learn this new tech or I'm going to do this, he just kind of came up with fake terms that sounded like actual Smash terms. None of them meant anything, but they sure sounded like they should. Yep. So we're making them something. And
so Upcancel, Ledgebounce is not a thing. You cannot do that with Pikachu, though you may try, but it is certainly a thing for us here talking to you now. And of course, we take that same sort of spirit when we decided the name for our branch of the Midwest Circuit, and we're excited to announce Push More Buttons coming this late June to Minneapolis, featuring Melee, Smash 4, and PM.
Yeah, Push More Buttons and the Midwest Circuit will feature Melee, Smash 4, and Project M. And if there's anything we know that Smash players like to do, it's pushing more buttons.
Absolutely. And this is, of course, big for the Project M community as well, especially as more and more tournaments tend to start looking away. This is something that will come up in a future episode of our podcast for sure, with more detail. But it's great that we're still able to support this community despite odd tensions within sort of corporatism and larger financing. The Midwest Circuit says, no, we're going to continue to run PM. It's always been a very, very exciting event. For those of you who saw Kings of the North 4, the PM singles bracket was probably the most exciting thing that happened that day. I was excited for it despite not even playing the game. It was a great spectator moment to see the top 8. And so we're excited to have it again at Push More Buttons on June 28th.
Yeah, definitely. June 25th.
I definitely said 28th. Yeah, 25th.
Yeah, 25th. I mean, people have said that the top 8 at Kings of the North might have been one of the best top 8s we've ever seen for Project M. The game isn't dying. And
so get it right in your calendars right now. Open up that app. Mark down that weekend. It'll be the first larger tournament we've had right in your backyard, Minnesota. So, you don't have to worry about hotels. You don't got to worry about figuring out where you're staying. More details on it will come forth. Obviously, we don't have all the concrete information right now. All the information will be to be announced. If you want to see the beginnings of what this Midwest Circuit's looking like, Dismantle will function as the first leg of the Midwest Circuit right in the new year on the 2nd and 3rd.
Yep.
And so
I believe we have some players in state that are looking to go towards that as well.
Yeah, and so we'll get to see sort of how that fits. And like I said, more information on not only Push More Buttons, but on the Midwest Circuit at large is coming. In any case, that's sort of our brief first podcast. We didn't want to cram in too much content right at the beginning. If only just to make it brief and to make the couple announcements we want to do. Yay Down B, yay Push More Buttons, yay Upcancel, Ledgebounce. And that's that, episode 1. Until next time, keep hitting all those techs. We'll talk to you soon.